Hi everyone, Michelle Sugiyama from the state of California in the United States of America. I am very honored to be with you today or tonight, wherever you are in the world. I just think it's a crazy, tragic time, but with tragedy comes silver linings. And this time has allowed some of us to really slow down, to reflect, to decide what is really important to us and what we want to do with our life. And also, it has given us time to come together in these types of events to really expand our intellectual wellness. So, I hope throughout this event, you will find some things that you can easily add to your everyday life to move you towards your best self. I am very excited to talk to you about mindful eating during COVID-19 and beyond. And I did prepare some slides for you today. And mindful eating is something that is not super new, but can be a little bit perplexing because a lot of people really are not that mindful when it comes to what they're eating or drinking. And I was in that position for decades. I really can tell you exactly what mindful eating is not from personal experience. So it is not going to the movie theaters and eating a large buttered popcorn, getting another one for free, and eating more until you feel sick. It is not crying while you're eating a super large triple layer chocolate cake while crying your eyes out because you're super stressed and depressed. So, from personal experience, I can tell you what mindful eating is not. And I hope tonight that I will enlighten you and inspire you to think more about mindful eating and how to incorporate that into your life. I also think it's very timely because I have heard so many people uh, tell me and also see Facebook posts about how people are visiting their snack cabinets a little bit more than usual and gaining some weight. I've also seen a little phrase about gaining weight during COVID-19, and it's called quarantine 15, which is very similar to gaining 15 pounds when you start your freshman year in college. So hopefully you will learn some things that will allow you to not gain weight or maybe reverse some of the weight that you've put on, but also really to increase your health, your overall health, that will allow you to truly enjoy the golden half of life. Because I've been inspired by my grandmother who lived to 101, and her mantra is health is number one. And I truly believe that because without your health, you're not going to be able to enjoy your family, your friends, or even your hard earned money that you've worked so long and hard for. So hopefully tonight you'll learn some things. Um, what am I going to talk about? So first I'm going to talk about, well, what really is mindful eating? And why do we go to that snack cabinet when we're not truly hungry, when we're not really physiologically hungry, when our stomach isn't growling, when we maybe feel a little bit undernourished, like we're kind of a little bit dizzy because we really need to eat because our blood sugar has gotten low. So why do we really eat when we're not hungry? And then I would like to give you a challenge. It's a mindfulness experiment when it comes to food that I hope that you can do right after this talk or after the event is over. And lastly, I hope that you will get some tips and practical things that you can add to your everyday lifestyle in order for you to be more mindful, to really truly enjoy that golden half of life. So real quick, if you'll allow me to give you my background. I am the founder of Mindful Eating. I did not start out in the wellness arena. I actually got my master's degree in chemistry from the Ohio State University. I worked in corporate America for 10 long years. I really decided I was not helping people, so I quit and went to culinary school. I did an externship in Avignon, France, and while it was a great experience, it truly taught me that I did not want to own a restaurant because I really wanted my weekends. So I came back to the States and I started a personal chefing company. So individuals and families could eat around their own dinner table with healthy food and have conversation. I was able to hire some employees, and that allowed me to go to corporations and give healthy cooking and eating seminars. And I still do that today. I don't do the personal chefing anymore. I decided to expand my horizons and I got my health coaching certification. And then I became a certified master's health coach. And I will be also getting my board certification this fall. And lastly, just recently, I became a #1 best-selling international author. The book is called Break Free to Stand in Your Power, where 17 very heart-centered authors, we've come together and really told very powerful personal stories about things in our life and how we have overcome them in order to give people hope and inspiration to help others really break free to stand in their power. So if you get a chance, check out the book. It is on Amazon. So back to mindful eating. Let's take a quick second and think about, well, what is mindfulness, first of all? I don't know what came into your head, but really mindfulness is about being aware, being present in the moment. So when it comes to mindful eating, it's being aware and present while you're eating or drinking, but without judging or criticizing yourself. Mindful eating is also about how these foods and drinks affect how we feel, how we think. Do we have more or less attention? How does it affect our energy levels and our feelings? And it's also about how we choose what we eat or drink. So it's about our decisions when it comes to eating or drinking something, whatever we choose. Now, what are some reasons why we want to eat, but we don't truly need to eat? So why are we going into that snack cabinet when we're not physiologically hungry? There are quite a number of reasons. Tonight or today, I'm going to talk about 4 and hopefully give you some tips that you can do in order to avoid some of these pitfalls. And the first one is sleep deprivation. You might have not have thought about that right away, but when you are sleep deprived, your hormones kind of go wacky. And so your ghrelin, which is your hunger hormone, increases, and your leptin, or your hormone that says, I'm satiated, I feel full enough, go down. Now, also, we have what these neurotransmitters are called endocannabinoids, and they increase when we don't get enough sleep. And they really give us that craving for junk food. Now, I was a very poor sleeper back in my corporate America days. And that was when I was having some major eating issues. And I think a lot of it had to do with sleep depression or sleep deprivation, because I was traveling a lot. I was in airplanes, sleeping in hotels, which I don't sleep very well. And I was really grabbing for a lot of junk food and I was gaining weight. So when you don't have enough sleep, it causes you to eat more fatty foods, and then you're eating more calories, and then that sets you up for having a higher risk of having a chronic disease such as diabetes or heart disease or even cancer. So how do we get some good sleep? Well, adults, and I'm just presuming that most of us are 26 to 64, and we really need about 7 to 9 good hours of sleep per night. And we really need to get into that non-REM deep sleep stage, also known as stage N3. And this is when our bodies really go through the healing and the repairing that needs to be done. And it's also when our hormones are released. So our growth hormones, all the way to the hormones that control our appetite. I just put down 3 types of things that we may want to focus on. Of course, there's a whole lot of things that we can do for good sleep hygiene. So if you want to read about it, just go to sleepfoundation.org. And I picked these 3 just because, it may be something that I think a lot of people are dealing with right now, or that my family deals with. Of course, it's obvious to not drink alcohol or caffeine really close to bedtime. It might not be so obvious about the alcohol. I mean, at first you feel like that's helping you go to sleep, but then later on, as that starts to process in your body and your liver, it really causes you to not have a very good N3 sleep. And my husband notices that a lot. So when he drinks a little bit closer to bedtime, he just knows that he does not get good sleep. And I personally myself too, because I like to enjoy a nice glass of red wine or white wine. And I can tell when I do that close to bedtime, I do not get good sleep at all. It's very important that we try not to eat 3 hours before bedtime, because when our food is digesting, then it causes us to not really get good sleep as well. So you might have some reflex issues and things like that that are going to cause you to wake up during the middle of the night. And the last one is, I thought that might be just fun, bedroom only for sleep or sex. And that could be an issue for some people, for quite a lot of people, because many of us like to settle down with a nice, good book before bedtime. But really, we should only keep our bedroom for sleep and sex. Other reasons why we want to eat when we're not hungry, and that could be thirst. And a lot of times you don't think about that. You don't think that thirst could actually be something that would cause you to feel like you're hungry. So thirst is actually a little trickster. So if you think that you may not be hungry, but actually thirsty, go ahead and grab that nice tall glass of water, drink that down, and take a second to decide whether or not you really need to eat. Or was it that you're really thirsty? Now, what I like to do to keep myself hydrated throughout the day, because it's so important that we stay hydrated, especially now during the summer months, is I like to put a nice tall glass of water right next to my bedside. So when I wake up in the morning and I roll over, I see that glass of water right away, and then that prompts me to drink it before I even go downstairs and get my cup of coffee or get my cup of tea. So I start my day very hydrated. I also tell many of my clients to do that, and they love that they are hydrating first thing in the morning as well as throughout the day. So try that at home if you don't already do that. Now, eating triggers and emotions are biggies of why we eat when we're not hungry. So, external factors, say you see those big plate of donuts in the middle of the table. Now, you may have only eaten breakfast an hour ago, but back in the day when I was in corporate America, we would have Monday morning meetings at 9 o'clock. And in the middle of the table, there was a big plate of donuts. And although I might have had a very healthy breakfast, I would look at those donuts and that would trigger me to want to eat one. I would, you kind of feel that, oh, I'm salivating a little bit. Those donuts look so good. So really be mindful about seeing the food. Let's say now that restaurants are opening up and you're seeing all this amazing good food that you haven't had a chance to eat for a while, think about whether or not that's causing you to be a little bit more hungry and cause you to order things that maybe aren't so healthy for you. Smell. So, for example, smelling that amazing waft of French fries or freshly baked chocolate chip cookies, that can also cause you to have an eating trigger and really, grab for something that you really don't need at the moment. Conditioning. Now, I don't know if you remember learning about Pavlov's dog theory. I recall learning about it, and it's kind of the same thing. We're conditioned to do something. So, in Pavlov's dog theory, the bell, when he rang the bell, that would cause the dogs to salivate and want to eat. So, there are things that are in our lives that have maybe caused us to want to eat. And that could be driving in a car. I remember when I was driving to many of my clients' offices, I would really want to kind of eat something. Or when I was driving long distances to see my parents, I wouldn't be but 10 minutes down the freeway, and I was already grabbing something in my little snack bag that I packed for myself in the car. Flying is also another one. I don't know about you, but a lot of people are eating their snacks that they packed throughout the whole flight. Now, movie theaters, and I talked about eating a large butter popcorn and ordering more at the movie theater, but let's say even though we're not going to movie theaters right now, but we're maybe watching more movies in our house. Let's say we just got done eating dinner and all of a sudden the TV comes on and it triggers us to want to eat. I know that right now my 9-year-old adopted daughter, she is constantly foraging for food about every 15 minutes. And it's not that she is hungry. She is either bored. She was either frustrated with her homeschool teachers, which would be myself and my husband, or she was very overwhelmed with her schoolwork. And, that causes me to talk about emotional states. Um, Negative emotions really are biggies. They can cause us to eat a lot of food. And I know that when I was going through a lot of stress and some depression, that I was eating a lot of very bad food. And, not only negative emotions cause you to eat food, but they could be positive emotions too. Let's say you're at a celebration and everybody's eating a lot of the cakes or the cookies, and so that causes you to eat more. So just be mindful of some of the emotions that waft over you when you're grabbing for things and you're not truly hungry. But even if you are eating to comfort yourself with some kind of comfort food, let it truly do that. Let that food truly comfort you. And so I recall back in the day when I was in corporate America, and this is going to age myself and date myself, but back in the day, the computers would shut down and just shut down automatically without any rhyme or reason, and I would get really frustrated with that. And so what I would do was I would go grab something crunchy. Now, if it was crunchy and salty, that was twice as nice. But what I would do was I would bring back my comfort food right in front of my computer, which was my source of frustration, and I would just start munching away. And before I knew it, I had eaten way too many of the crunchy, salty treat. So if indeed you need something to comfort you, take it away from your source of frustration or your source of stress or your source of anger, and then let it really, truly comfort you. And also be mindful about the amount that you're eating. All right. Now, some strategies would be, again, to recognize that you are not hungry and or that you've been hit by an eating trigger, and replace those with things. Let's say if you're a big music buff, you can go out, put some earphones on, put on your favorite music, and really, jam out for a little bit, or put some nice classical music on to really kind of de-stress you. Another thing would be writing in a journal. A gratitude journal is fantastic. Taking deep belly breaths. So if you want to think about box breathing, so that would be like 4 breaths in, and then 4 breaths, or 4 counts in, and then 4 counts out. So really let your breath come in all the way to your diaphragm, and then let that breath out. And that can really de-stress you and really help you to recenter. But what really I found that helps me recenter is just getting out in nature. I am very lucky that I live very close to the foothills, and I can just walk up to the foothills and I can overlook the city that I live in, let that wind hit my face, and just really be grateful. And I almost sometimes do a mantra of what I'm grateful for that day. At times, I'll lift my arms up and stand in maybe a power pose and just breathe and recenter. So I hope that you're able to just either go out and take a walk, and it doesn't even have to be a long one, but it could be just something around your house, throughout the neighborhood, to kind of get you away from some of these triggers. Lastly, our microbiome. Oh my gosh. So our microbiome is amazing. I don't know if you know, but most of our cells in our body are bacterial cells, and other things are not even human cells. So it's crazy to think that we are mainly bacteria with regards to our cells. And the microbiome is getting very popular in the wellness world as well as the science world. And so we're really starting to study it. It is being connected to many things. So like our cravings, our energy level, how it's connected to some of the diseases. So if you haven't been able to read about the microbiome, please do so. There is what we call a brain-gut connection. So our brain and our gut, and our gut and our brain have this two-way communication. And what we're really finding is that when we crave some of these really bad junk foods, it's not even us that's craving it, it's our bad bacteria. So our bad bacteria in our gut is fed by some of this really bad junk food. And so it says, feed me, and that causes us to grab some of the unhealthy food. And so what we really want to do is we want to have a balanced microbiome. In other words, we want to have really good bacteria, and we can have some bacteria, but we're striving to have more good bacteria. And how do we do that? How do we feed our good microbiome or our good bacteria? Well, we want to do that by eating a lot of plants. And one of the doctors who is a mentor of mine, he recommends that we try to eat 10 handfuls of good, clean fruits and vegetables a day to really feed our good bacteria with a lot of the fiber that's in these types of foods, but also they're full of antioxidants. And that's going to help to boost our immunity, because the majority of our immune system is actually in our gut. So that is amazing stuff. I would like to give you something very simple and easy that you can incorporate into your everyday life. And that is called the 5S eating plan. It's very simple because every single picture here starts with an S. So the first one is smoothies, and that is a fantastic way to get some fruits and vegetables into your body first thing right away in the morning. I personally love to do a lot of berries because they're low in sugar. I always try to add a little bit of fresh kale, or I get a mixture which is called power greens, which has baby kale and some other really dark leafy greens. And I just throw them in the blender with some plants, some vegan protein powder, and it's good to go. Amazingly, my 9-year-old daughter, she absolutely loves these smoothies. And I have made her green smoothies, which are just, with avocados and kale, and it's all green, and she doesn't have a problem with that. And I think it's because of the way how she was raised, where it wasn't weird to, throw kale into a blender. So if you have some young children, it's all about shaping young tastes in order for them to really have those expanded taste buds to not be and also not be afraid of the colors of food. I know a lot of children have problems with green food. The second one is obviously salads. So a great way, of course, to get in a lot of green leafy vegetables and also other types of high colored foods is eating salads. So you'll see here with this salad, we've got some dried cranberries, which of course are very healthy. Fresh cranberries are probably even healthier than dried because dried has a lot of sugar, but I don't have a problem with dried fruit as long as you don't eat too much. And then it's a fantastic way to add nuts and seeds on your plate. I love the fact that the salad has almonds in it, but you, of course, could put any type of nut or seed that you want. You could even put chia seeds on there. What I love about nuts and legumes is that they're very high in monounsaturated fat, and that is the good fat. That is the fat that's going to raise your good cholesterol, your HDL, and lower your bad cholesterol or your LDL. I recall back in the day, I was able to see Dr. Weil speak, and he is amazing. And one of the things that he said was if we all ate one handful of nuts a day, we would all be so much healthier. And then he went on to say, but I didn't say eat 2 or 3 handfuls a day because they are high in calories. So definitely be mindful about the amount of nuts that you're eating and just focus on a handful. The third thing is seafood. And I know that you probably see that it is salmon over there. So if you can get some good wild salmon, please do so because it's very high in omega-3 fatty acids, which are good for the brain and the heart. But I put seafood and not salmon because really most seafood does contain omega-3 fatty acids. We just want to make sure that we're not eating too much because then we may have a risk of ingesting too many heavy metals. So we may want to focus on just a couple handfuls a week of some good, nice, fresh seafood. This one is spices, and you'll see cauliflower because one of the things that I absolutely love to eat is roasted cauliflower. It is like candy to me. Actually, a lot of plants I love roasted because it just makes it so flavorful. And one of the things that I love to add to cauliflower is some nice organic turmeric. And turmeric is fantastic when it comes to being an anti-inflammatory, as well as cinnamon too. I don't add the cinnamon to my cauliflower, but I will add it to my smoothies. So if you haven't tried to roast cauliflower, please do so because it is so yummy. And just a tip, what I do is if you're roasting it in the oven, I turn my heat fairly high, anywhere between 350 to 375. And it could be different for your oven. You may even have to go up to 400. But I put my roasting pan in the oven first. So I heat up that roasting pan. Then I carefully take it out, and then I add the oil to it, and then I heat it up again a little bit. And so what it's allowing you to do is kind of like heating up your skillet. So when you add that cauliflower, it's going to sizzle right away, and you're going to get those nice brown areas of the cauliflower, which makes it so good. The last thing is supplements. Yes, we may need to add supplements in our body. And if you do that, just, make sure that you do a little bit of research on your supplements. Make sure that they are very high quality. I personally like to do whole food supplements and not isolated man-made vitamins. And the reason being is because when you do whole food, let's say you're having an apple contains 10,000 phytonutrients or plant chemicals, and all of those plant chemicals work together in your body in synergy. So when you're taking an isolated man-made vitamin, let's say it's vitamin C with maybe 9 or 10 other different individual vitamins, you're not getting all of the other 9,990 plant chemicals from that vitamin that you would be getting from whole food. So that's why I think it's important to really research your vitamins and hopefully focus on a whole food supplement. So the experiment that I'd like to tell you about really quick is with chocolate. And I do this in some of my corporate seminars, and people love it because it's engaging, but also because most people love chocolate. So when you have some time, just get a small piece of chocolate, maybe, like this big, and pretend that you're kind of an alien. Like, oh my gosh, what is this thing? I don't know what it is. And maybe smell it, and you don't speak English, but you really think that it smells chocolatey, even though you don't know that word. And you don't know what it tastes like. You don't know if it's salty or bitter, sweet, chalky, but you're going to give it a try, and you're going to put it on your tongue and really appreciate it. Just savor it. Just let it sit on your tongue and let it melt. And think about all of the wonderful tastes that you're tasting. And if it's not so good chocolate, you might be tasting some bad tasting notes as well. So I wanted to just give you a couple things that you can see if you taste them. So positive tasting notes would be clean or smooth or bitter and sweet. A good blend of those two things. Negative taste notes would be artificial, medicinal, gritty, burnt, just harsh. So try that and write them down and see if you actually become a little bit more mindful. I've done this where people have come out of the experiment and they say, oh my gosh, I don't even like the chocolate that I've been binging on for a decade. So give it a shot. So see how you feel and what did you discover about yourself. Now, what I have been talking tonight about or today is really the tip of the wellness iceberg. And we are just striving for that top state of health. And I hope that you can incorporate one or two or all of these things, but take it slowly. Maybe incorporate one for a couple weeks or a month, and then another, and then another. And then by the time you know it, you will have implemented a lot of good, healthy lifestyle tips, and you won't even have to think about it anymore. It's just going to be part of your life. Once again, my grandmother's mantra is health is number one. Her name was Kinuyo Sugiyama, and she was amazing. One day I will have to write a book about her, but I am running out of time. So just remember, health is number one. Thank you so much. My gift to you for coming to my session is a 30-minute exploration. And it could be on Zoom, it could be on FaceTime, it could be telephonic, but let's explore some things that you would like to improve on. I do anything with regards to the 4 pillars of health. That would be lifestyle, exercise, attitude, and nutrition. We come together in partnership so you can move towards your best self. And you can contact me in any of these ways that you would like to. My Gmail address, you can look up my website, and my scheduling link is michelle.as.me. You can also find me, my business page on Facebook, which is Mindful Eating Now. So thank you very much. It's been such a pleasure, and I hope you're having a fantastic day or night, and stay safe.